Hello, I'm MrTieDye, and today we're going to be doing another series on the spiral. I had done one when I first started doing these videos 2 years ago, and I've of course had more practice at making videos and what to include in the videos and everything, so I decided I wanted to do another video on the spiral. And what we're going to do, I'm going to just do a quick tie on this. This is just your basic spiral, not one of the pleated spirals. If you want a pleated spiral, there is a video out there by Nikolai Savin, and he explains how to do that, and that's more precise. We're just going to do a basic where I'm going to pinch and twist with my fingers. As far as tying a spiral up, there's only really two things that you can do. You either get a clockwise spiral or a counterclockwise spiral, and that can be done. I'm a clockwise twister, so when I twist, trying to twist it counterclockwise doesn't work for me. So I always twist clockwise spirals. But if I want a counterclockwise spiral on the front of my T, all I have to do is flip the T over, and I can still twist my regular clockwise spiral, and it will put a counterclockwise spiral on the front. Although one more thing is I have the t-shirt turned inside out, so that too is going to reverse the direction. So if I have my t-shirt face up and inside out, that's going to put a counterclockwise spiral on my t-shirt if I turn it clockwise. I hope I haven't confused you too much, but I'm going to tie up a pile of t-shirts here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 t-shirts here. I'm going to tie them all up in a spiral design, and the only difference in the twisting of them is going to be whether I have it face up or face down. All of the t-shirts are going to be turned inside out because that's just my preferred method. In this case, I'm not putting any marks on it, so that's not the reason, but sometimes your red dyes or your brown dyes will leave little tiny specks of dye that aren't dissolved, and that'll leave little tiny spots. Most of the time, those tiny spots are just on the surface, the very top of the fabric. So if you have your t-shirt inside out, then those spots will be on the inside. So that's my main reason for working on the inside of the t-shirt, is just to minimize those distracting things from the final presentation of your t-shirt. So I'm going to tie this one up here on camera, and then the rest of them I'm going to do off camera, and then I'm going to show you several different ways of dyeing the spiral to get different results. Like I say, they're all going to be tied the same with the exception of whether they're face up or face down. So there'll be a variety of clockwise or counterclockwise spirals. And then I'm going to show you several methods of applying the dye to get different results out of this one design. So just stick with me, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with the spiral. My main thing when I'm tying the spiral up, like I say, once again, this here is just the basic. I'm trying to keep all of my pleats fairly even here in height. When you're doing the pleated spiral, I know the outer edge, it kind of forms a bowl shape, so that's definitely not what I'm doing here. I'm just folding just a regular spiral, and I'm just kind of adjusting all of these creases, and by putting my hand on here, that's also helping me then keep everything kind of mostly on the same level as possible, and that just helps then for your dye saturation later on. But if you can get all your creases kind of laying in there nice and even, then that's just going to add to your spiral design there. So I just keep working this around until I get it just the way that I want it, and then we'll put our dyes on. Well, we'll get it tied first. Okay. And once again, I love to use kite string. This was something I learned down in San Francisco when I was at Jammin' on Hate. I think they're now changed their name to Jammin' on Love. But the St. Rebel boys and Zach were in there, and they showed me how to use kite string. And this has just been fantastic. I love this stuff. It allows you to tie things up tight or loose. You can tie part of your shirt up and then fold some more and then tie more of it up. So it just makes it so much easier. Just getting the hang of it, in which that doesn't really take that long. You sit down and tie up a pile of shirts, and by the time you're done, I think you'll have the hang of the kite string. I do have a video pointing out some tips on how I use it, and I'll put a link to that down in the description. But you can just as easily use rubber bands. So let's just go for this one. Okay, so there is my first spiral design. And like I say, I'm going to tie up 5 more of these, and then I'll be back with some gloves on and we'll get some color put on these. Okay, we're back to start dyeing some of these spirals up. So I went ahead and tied 1 more, so I have 7 total. Like I say, they're all tied exactly the same way, just pinched and twisted in the middle. The only difference is some are clockwise, some are counterclockwise, depending on whether I had them face up or face down when I twisted them. So now I'm going to show you the various ways of dyeing them. So to start out with, I'm going to do a rainbow spiral with just 3 colors. So I have my 3 primaries, my lemon yellow, my fuchsia, and my turquoise. So in tie-dye, those are the primary colors. So we're going to do all of our color mixing right on the t-shirt. So what I'm going to start out with is yellow, and I've drawn some guidelines on here just to mark them out. The other thing, if you're using rubber bands, you could just put 3 rubber bands on, cross them in the center, and that's going to give you your pie shapes that you need. So when you're doing a 3 color, just a 3 dye rainbow spiral, you're going to color 3 of the pieces of pie each time you pick up primary color. I usually will start with the lightest color first, the yellow. So I'm going to dye right along that line, splitting the t-shirt in half. And I just go along and color each piece of pie in, and remembering that the 2 outer ones are going to get 2 layers of dye on them, so you don't need to saturate the whole thing quite as much as you normally would. This middle space is going to stay yellow, so I'll saturate it a little bit more. But now I'm going to pick up, and it doesn't matter if you go fuchsia or turquoise next, but I'm going to color 3 spaces again. This time I'm going to start and cover up 1 of the yellow and then 2 of the white ones here. So I'm going right along this line here. And like I say, what that's doing, this here is going to be kind of a darker orange. I'll probably add just a little bit more yellow to this. Sometimes getting a decent orange is a little difficult, but if you kind of add a little bit the yellow, then the fuchsia, then the yellow again, it helps that orange out a little bit. Anyway, but you don't have to. You can leave it and it will make a dark orange there. But this is the way you can do a rainbow spiral even if you have just 3 colors, or the 3 primary colors. So now, and this leaves me 1 white space left. And what I'm going to do now is cover 1 of the yellow, 1 of the fuchsia, and then this last one. So I'm going to go along this line right here. And this gets me my rainbow spiral with just 3 colors. This is when I go into the schools, I'll use just the primary colors and teach color mixing right on the t-shirts. So all of the students, they get to learn how to make their own colors, and just makes it more of an art lesson for them. So basically you're just making the color wheel here. So now for the full rainbow spiral, we're going to flip this over and dye the same colors on the bottom side. So, and I can see my yellow, let's see here. Yep, so I can see I have green all the way to there and orange over to here, so I know this is my yellow line. So I'm going to dye those same ones in yellow. And of course, if you have all 6 of your colors, rainbow colors, you don't have to do it this way. I just like to show this as an option. Sometimes people are dyeing on a budget and they can only afford a few colors. So I always recommend the primary colors are the minimum of what you should get, and then a black. So you can have just 4 colors, and that'll give you a nice color palette where you can actually do mixing. You can also mix these in a bottle and pour them on, but this is a fun way to do it, just all right on the t-shirt. Okay, there's the rainbow spiral. So we're going to batch this for 48 hours, and I will have the results of all 7 of these t-shirts at the end of the video. But for now, this one here is going to go into a bin and sit for 48 hours. Okay, so I've been doing a good rinse on all of these spiral tees, and now it's time to start opening these up. This one here was the first one that I dyed, the 3-color rainbow spiral. So let's just open this up and see what we have here. So like I say, that orange is a darker orange than like what I usually use. This here is a deep orange, but this here is the dark orange from mixing the colors. So that's still a nice orange in there. But rainbow spiral with just 3 colors. Okay, for the second one, we're going to do what I call the spider web. And for this one here, we're going to use just 2 colors, and we're going to color each side all 1 color. So you just pick out your 2 colors, and in this case I'm picking out the blue violet, and I made my own lime green. So a purple and a green. I like contrast, so that's a fun way to get it in this design here. So once again, this is tied up just like a regular spiral, but the difference is instead of dyeing it in the pie shapes, I'm dyeing the whole thing. So what this is going to do is give me lines that emanate out from the middle. And that's why I call it a spider web. It's not a spider web exactly, but when I go into the schools, this is one of the designs I teach. So having fun names for the kids makes it more interesting. So I dyed that side all 1 color, and I'm going to pick a different color. Like I say, contrasting color is what I like the best, but you can pick whatever one you want. And this gives me the spider web. And for this, when I batch it, whatever color is the lightest, I will leave that color up, put the darker color down. If they're about the same, then really it's just a toss-up. You can pick whichever one you want, up or down. But I'm going to let that batch for 48 hours. Okay, this one is one I call the spider web. This is one that I dyed the top all 1 color and the bottom all 1 color. So, and what that does is create just lines emanating from the center. So that's where I started twisting it at, and all of these lines then come out. And I got a little bit of extra color, just some dye from other t-shirts, but that'll wash out. So I'll have this at the end of the video. That's the spider web. Okay, for number 3, this one here I call the pinwheel. And this one I'm picking 2 colors for one side, and I'm going to dye 3 of the pieces of pie here, these triangle shapes, in 1 color and 3 in another color. So I'm going to skip every other one when I dye this, and that'll give me what looks like a pinwheel. There'll be the skinny stripes, because the skinnier the triangle, the skinnier the stripe is. So I have it divided into 6 pieces. If you divided this into 8 or 10 pieces and had even skinnier triangles, then that means you'd have even more lines on your spiral design. So that's something you can explore with. So I'm going to skip one and then dye the next one. And I'm going to skip one and dye the last one here. So three spaces in each of the two colors is what I'm dyeing for the one side, and then the back side I'm going to dye it all one color. So this is kind of a combination. I mean, it's not the rainbow spiral. You can do this as a rainbow spiral on one side and put the solid color on the back, and you'll get a pinwheel rainbow spiral. This here is, since I've already done the rainbow spiral, we're going to do this one in the blues. So that's a cerulean blue, and then this is cobalt. Both of these are Dharma colors. So this here is more like a navy blue. So it goes on much darker here. And then we're going to break up the blue with a little bit of that bright green again. And the bright green is one that I make myself. I use lemon yellow and turquoise. So I'll use, if I'm making 16 ounces of dye, I'll use, let me see if I can do the math. I use 1 3/4 tablespoons, heaping tablespoons, so that's, anyways, can't do the math right now. So I use 1 1/2 scoops of the lemon yellow and then 1/2 scoop of the turquoise. So I'm using 3/4 lemon yellow and 1/4 of it turquoise, and that gets me a nice bright green. And you kind of adjust it from there. You can even mix it right into the liquid. I mean, I do that with the powder, but if you have a bottle of lemon yellow about this full, about that full, and then you add that much turquoise in, you're going to get that nice bright green. So you can do that in liquid or powder form. Anyways, that's what's going to go on the back side of this. And that'll give me the lines going through it that will look like the spider web. So this is just combining those two processes. Dyeing the pie shapes or dyeing it solid, and in this case we're doing it half and half. And that way you can see just what it does each way that you dye the t-shirt. So good and saturated there. And then I'll flip that over, and then this side, like I say, is just going to get just this one coat of bright green on the whole thing. And this one I call the pinwheel. I just love to explore and create and just try new things with tie-dye. So I'm always just experimenting. Sometimes my experiments have a bit of a flop, but if you learn something from them, then that's the most important thing. And the other thing I've learned, that even when you think a t-shirt's a flop, if you put it out there, somebody might just love that t-shirt. So I don't really think there are any failures in tie-dye. It's just a matter of finding the right person to buy it. Okay, so there's the pinwheel design. So once again, since my lighter color is on top, the bottom is the darker blues, I'm going to batch this side up. So I'm going to let that sit for 48 hours, and I'll be back with the next. Okay, and this is the one I call Pinwheel. So this one I dyed 3 of the pieces dark blue, 3 light blue, and then on the back side I dyed it all solid one color of green. So let's open up the pinwheel. So there's the pinwheel spiral design. Okay, as you can see, the pinwheel, I got a little carried away and tried to do too fancy. I dyed one side, I dyed 3 pieces one color and 3 another color, and then the back side I dyed solid. That one just really kind of interrupted the pattern that I was trying to show you, so I decided to go ahead and do another one of these. I'm just going to do the top and the bottom the same way. So I have my 2 colors. I'm dyeing 3 of them in light purple and 3 in navy, and then the same on the other side. So we're just going to go for this regular style instead of trying to mix up too many things into one design. But from the other one you can see what dyeing one side solid, it gives you those black lines through there, so that's an option for you. This is really about just inspiring you to try new things, because each way that you try something a little different, you're going to get a little different results. So that's one of the things I really love about tie-dye, is being able to alter things slightly and have something completely different come out from it. So anyways, this will be the pinwheel, the true pinwheel that I do in the schools with the kids. There's the pinwheel. So I dyed it the same way, top and bottom, so the same colors in the same spots on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to let this batch for 48 hours, and then you'll see the results here in just a few minutes, or a few seconds for you.
Okay, here's the second go at the pinwheel. This one I dyed the same on the top and the bottom to give the design more shape here. So let's look at the pinwheel now. Yeah, that's a better looking pinwheel. So I'll get this washed, and then we'll have it in the end of the video here. Thank you.
Okay, this next design, once again, tied up just like a spiral, like all the rest of them. This one I call the Tidal Wave. And this one we're going to dye 3 of the pieces of the pie one color and 3 another color. So this time I only drew one line down the middle, so I'm going to do half and half, but this time instead of top and bottom like the spider web, I'm going to dye half and half by going side to side. So I'm going to go with a brown. This is from Dharma also, although this one is just getting a little bit old, so we'll see what color it comes out to be, but it should still be a nice brown, or at least a tan. And then I'm going to go with cobalt for the other color here. So this here also is a Dharma color, and it's like a dark blue or a navy. And I call it a tidal wave just because it looks like a big wave. And once again, it's another fun name for the kids. This is another fun pattern I teach in the schools. So it makes it easy if you can tie up the t-shirt the same way, but dye it in many different ways to get different designs or different patterns on the t-shirt. So the spiral is very versatile in that way. It makes it easy when you're teaching kids how to dye. You can, whether they're tying the t-shirts up or you're tying them up ahead of time, you can do a whole bunch of them in a short amount of time and have them all come out differently, even though you tied them all the same way. Okay, so there's the tidal wave. I'm going to let this batch for 48 hours. Okay, here we have the tidal wave. I did this one in 2 dark colors, so it might be a little difficult to see in this video, but once it's washed and dried, you'll be able to see that better. But there's basically 2 big fat zebra or lines on here. So that's the tidal wave. Okay, we're ready for the next spiral. So this one I'm going to do what I call zebra stripes on a few of the lines. So I'm going to do a rainbow spiral with zebra stripes. So this one I'm going to just color in the regular fashion. I have all of my rainbow colors. I'm going to put them on. The difference is in 3 of the colors, so it, excuse me, with my black or blue, my green, and my purple, I'm going to use a lighter shade on, or a darker shade on the back side of these. So that's going to give me striped lines instead of solid lines. And once again, you'll see the result of that in the results here. So we're going to color Once again, I'm coloring the rainbow where I put just the 3 colors, primary colors, up to the center, and the rest of them I'm going to color just back from the white spot there. And that just helps you avoid having a brown spot in the middle if all of your colors run together. This way you have just your primary colors there up to the very center. And so far the colors I've used, this is turquoise, this is fuchsia, and this is lemon yellow, and then this here is my lime green that I made from mixing the lemon yellow and the turquoise. So about 3/4 of the lime green is in the fuchsia yellow. And then this here is plum that I've just watered down. So basically what I did is I put plum dye up to this line in the bottle, and then I added the rest in with just plain water in there. So that just gives me a lighter shade of purple. And you can add more or less dye just depending on how dark you want it. I wanted a nice light purple so my zebra stripes show up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is dye the other side. And 3 of the colors I'll use the same shade. So let's see, the fuchsia is going to be the same. And then instead of turquoise, I'm going to use cobalt, which is the navy blue. So I'll put that in the turquoise space here. And then my lemon yellow is the same. And my orange is the same. And this is deep orange from Dharma also. Dharma is where I buy most of my dyes, just because that's where I started buying them from, and since I live in Oregon, shipping is cheap and fairly fast to me. Okay, so now for the purple, I used the light plum, or light purple here. So this here is full strength purple on this side. So I'm going to dye that. And that'll give me a nice zebra stripe purple line there. And then the green. This here is emerald green from Dharma. Okay, so there's my zebra stripe rainbow spiral. And you can mix up, I didn't happen to have a darker, lighter shade of the orange or the yellow mixed up. And those, some of them are easier to mix out anyway. You can do it with all of the stripes. I decided to do it with just the 3 so that you could see the comparison between the solid stripes and the zebra stripes. So I'm going to let this batch for 48 hours. Okay, here we have the zebra striped spiral. So on this one here, I used the darker purple, darker blue, and darker green on this side. And on the front side, it was the light purple, the turquoise, and the bright green. So that will give us some zebra stripe lines here. So you can see like the orange and the fuchsia and the yellow, those are all solid. But this purple has light purple and dark purple in it. The blue has dark and light, and the green has dark and light in there. So there's the zebra stripe spiral. Okay, for this one here, I'm going to do what I call a DNA spiral. So with the DNA, you offset your colors, but offsetting it didn't give me the effect that I was looking for. It gave me what I call the wild spiral, which will be the next one. But on this one here, so I'll draw my lines on there, and then on the back side, instead of drawing with these same lines on the other side, I go in between them. So I'm going to offset my color. So on one side, I will have this triangle. Well, let's lay these on. So on the back side, this here is where I'm going to dye at. But on the front side, I'm going to offset. So I'm going to go in between these lines from the back side and draw a new set of lines on here. So I'm going to go from right here. Oh, let's use my other marker that works better. Okay. So yeah, I'm just drawing these lines in between the other lines on the back side. And that's just going to offset my colors just a little bit and give me the effect that I'm looking for. And of course you'll see that in the results here at the end of this video. I'll probably even do a reveal video just to open each one of these up and see how each one came out. So this is the only part, is you just want to make sure that when I drew my lines on the back side, I extended them up so I could see where they're at, and then that way I could draw the other ones in between them, and that just basically shifted my pie shapes just 1/2 of a space from the back side to the front side. So I hope that makes sense there. So now we can just focus on just dyeing inside the lines, and the rest of it is going to take care of itself. So I'm just going to go in my straight rainbow colors, and then we'll flip it over and do the same thing on the back side. Oh, and I guess I usually start with my turquoise, so we'll do that first. I like to do my primaries first and put those all the way up to the very center, and then put my secondary colors just up to the white spot. Okay, there's the front side, so we're going to flip this over. And then the main thing is just making sure that we get the colors started in the right direction here. So like I say, my blue on the front side is going right here in this triangle, with this line being right the center of that. So really I can pick either one of these triangles to start my blue in, and then just continue around with the rest of the rainbow color. So the main thing is just making sure that you're spacing, that you don't get caught up. So I'm going to start out in my purple space here. So this here is the purple and turquoise space. And I'm going to put my turquoise in there. And in this case I'm following right where my drawn on lines are, not where I can see the dye. That's the thing you want to make sure. That's why I draw the lines on, just so that you don't get confused. And then I'm going to put a little drop here just to remind myself that that space is green, and then I'm going to dye my next primary color starting up at the point. Because you don't want to get your colors off once you get started on here. So now I know that this next space is yellow, so now my primary color goes here. Or that one's orange. Okay, and there's my DNA rainbow spiral. You'll have the results at the end of this video. Okay, this one was the DNA spiral where I put the colors just offset a little bit so you can see my green is right there, and on the back side the green is over here. So let's open this up and see what the DNA spiral looks like. So with the DNA spiral, what we're getting is, instead of a solid stripe here, we're getting the offset. So you're getting this DNA look within your spiral, and you can see it here in the green, in the yellow. So the colors are just offset just a little bit. So that's what you get when you do the DNA spiral. Okay, this last one I call the wild spiral. So this one here is, you can do it anytime, of course, but the best time or nicest time to do this is when you're running out of your dyes. Like you have just a little bit of this color left and a little bit of that color left, and you don't really have enough to really do anything. So what I've done here, let me see if I can pan this camera around. So I have all of my colors lined up. So I got a couple shades of green, a couple of blue, I got my orange, yellow, a couple shades of purple, blue, red, brown. Okay, so I'm going to use each one of these colors. I counted them out. I got 12 different colors here, and I'm going to use each one of them just one time on the t-shirt here. So I'm just going to color each one of these spaces a different color, and then flip it over and color the bottom side, each one a different color. And for this one here, I'm not trying to worry about any kind of color mixing. I already have brown in my mix here, so I'm not worried about getting brown. So I might put orange and green next to each other. With the wild spiral, I like it to be wild, and colors are going to mix, and it's going to be just what it is. The universe helps me with this one here. It mixes and blends the colors just perfectly. So we're just going to go through and use each color one time. I've done this on a tapestry. I'll see if I can dig up a photo and add it into the video here. But I did, I believe it was 20 or 22 colors on a tapestry, on a spiral design. So those are a lot of fun to do. So since I said I'm putting orange and green next to each other, I'm just going to do that right now. So then I'm going to get just a little bit of brown right here where these two colors mix. I'm not worried about that. Now if you don't want that, you can go ahead and avoid it, but like I say, with the wild spiral, it's almost called for. So I like to have as much contrast as possible in my wild spiral. So also, just to make sure you don't reuse the same color, you can put a lid on it as soon as you've used the color, so you can put it away. All right, let's go with some purple next to the orange, or the light purple. And then the other thing you can do, if you want to squeeze in another color, I'm going to dye just half of this space. I'm going to add in black. So this here is going to make for a little skinny spiral on this one here, or line on this one. So you can adjust the sizes of your lines how you like them by how wide of an area you dye. And that just adds a little bit of the blue in. And let's see what else. We've got just a little bit of turquoise. I'm going to use the turquoise in this little space. But that's the other thing. You can adjust if you have just a little bit of a color. You can just do just a little tiny triangle of that color. And that way it's in there, but you don't have to make new dye up when you don't want to. Okay, so there's one side. And let's see, what else can you do? Oh, here's one that I mixed just a little bit of a darker yellow I added just a little bit of orange to that. I'm going to put a little bit of this over top of my yellow space here. So that's going to add just a zebra stripe onto my yellow stripe a little bit. So there's lots of fun things you can do. You just got to explore and experiment, try stuff out. But hopefully this video will give you an idea of more of what's possible, or what it looks like when you do dyeing in a certain way. My goal is to inspire you guys to try some of your own stuff. So get out there and play with color. Okay, so on the back side of this orange, I'm going to put cobalt just for some even higher contrast in there. Okay, over top of the yellow, I'm going to put brown. So some of these now I'm just kind of looking for where I want the contrast to be. So I'll kind of pick and choose now as I look to see what colors I have left here as to what colors I want them to offset. So if I have a light color, I'll usually put a darker color on this back side. And I have a light green here. This is my dark green. I don't want to put it there, and I don't want to put it on one of my blues, so I'm going to put it on this purple here. So there's no exact way of doing this. This is all just, I kind of just go with how I feel. I look at it and I just grab a color. And then I've got red, purple, and fuchsia left. So I think I'm going to put my fuchsia. Yeah, I'll put my fuchsia over top of the space where I had turquoise and black on the back side. So on this side, I'm just dyeing it one color. So it'll be kind of a zebra striped line, or checkerboard kind of looking line, where it'll be solid fuchsia on one side and it's going to be the two colors on the other side. And let's see, we'll go with red for our blue. Oh, and that puts my two red colors right next to each other. One's fuchsia and one's red. But maybe I'll put one strip of brown. No, let's go with the blue violet in between here. So I'm going to put one skinny little stripe in between my two reds. And then I'll use my plum, the darker purple, for this last bit of green right here. Okay, there's the wild spiral, and I used, what, 12, 13, 14 colors on this. So I'm going to let that batch for 48 hours, and then I'll be back. I decided I'm going to go ahead and do a reveal video as I open each one of these up, and then I'll have the final results at the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Please like and share my videos where they're allowed. Okay, here's the wild spiral. This is the one I used 14 colors on, and I put, for each color, I put a different color on the top than I did on the bottom. So this gives me the wild spiral. So let's open this up. So you can see each one of the stripes is a zebra stripe line on the wild spiral.